I'm going to talk today about the small filters I use for my Betta. They're the Penplex Small World filters, and you see I have one here in this quarantine tank. Now this tank is under 1.5 gallons. It's not one that I usually house fish in permanently. I put fish in here for a 14-day quarantine period when they come home, and currently it's housing a fish that I did not expect to bring home. So I don't have a tank for her currently. I had to order one, so her larger tank is on order. In the meantime, I wanted to show this because I've noticed that there's a lot of questions about filters for Betta because they don't like a really strong flow, but they do benefit from a filter. The filter on this one kind of, the water comes down through here, or excuse me, the air comes down through here, comes up through the medium a little bit, and then bubbles up to the top, and then it breaks the surface of the top, which helps to keep the pond scum and the protein scum from building up. And it also creates a little surface break there, which helps to keep the water aerated a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I do that. My favorite type of filter for my 3 to 5 gallon Betta tanks would be the Azu Mignon Filter 60, and this is a generation 2. These are actually perfect filters for Betta. They hang over the side, and then the little tube here hangs into the tank. You can adjust the media how you want. It's got a very low flow, and I find if I tuck a sponge, a little extra top of the sponge right up through here, it slows down the flow a little bit more. Although you can also go online, and for other filters, they show you how to make a baffle on here with a water bottle. But I find that these actually do a pretty good job, especially if you put a plant or a high structure right underneath it. When the water comes down, it sort of breaks on the structure, and that helps as well. But if you can't fit this into your aquarium, which would be anything under a 3 gallon, that's when you're going to have to use something like this. And this one is my favorite for those size. It's, like I said, the Small World. And the purpose of this particular cartridge is so that you can take it and throw it away and then buy a new cartridge to put in here. What I don't like about that is that I can't change the media out myself. So when you're trying to cycle a tank or build a good bacteria in a tank, if you're going to use this long term, or this might end up just being your main filter for your tank, which is also fine. When you take these out every 2 to 4 weeks and you throw them away, any good biological bacteria that are building on this sponge, you're throwing it away, and it's like having to recycle your tank. By the time it gets, to a point where it's well cycled, you're throwing this away. So that doesn't work for me. And if you're using these for a quarantine tank, the charcoal in here is going to absorb all your medication, and you're not going to get any benefit from that. So what I do is there are some points on here where they've glued this back to this filter, and what I do is I take this back off. I don't want to destroy it and throw it away, so you want to be careful about that. What you want to do is just take a screwdriver and kind of pop the side and then slide it all the way around to loosen these glue joints, and then you can just remove the back and put whatever media you want in there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll see what's inside. Okay, so I went ahead and took the back off, and this time I actually broke it. I've done this several times, and it's the first time I've ever broke it. But it doesn't matter because it's just going to sit on the back and it'll be just fine. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and removed the zeolite and the carbon, which came inside. And this would actually give you the chemical filtration because the carbon removes any toxins or things in the water, and the zeolite helps to remove ammonia. And I could have left some of this in here, but I actually removed it. So the sponge here, which is going to give you mechanical filtration, it acts sort of like a strainer, and it's going to remove any of those small particulates and things from there. It can be removed now, which is really nice because with this I can go ahead and take it and rinse it in water. And I'm not going to rinse this in tap water. I'm going to rinse this in the water that I've removed from my tank during the tank cleaning process, so that way I don't kill any of the good bacteria that have formed on this. So you just put it in your dirty tank water, sort of give it a good squeeze and clean out some of those things that's accumulated, and then you can put it right back in. And the nice thing about this is you could also cut this filter in half, or this sponge in half, and perhaps you want to put this sponge on the bottom, and then on the top you can put in a carbon pad, which is probably what I'm going to do, so you don't have to use those loose carbons. And the carbon pad could be thrown out every few weeks and a new carbon pad put in here, and then you can still take advantage of the chemical filtration, mechanical filtration, and then up top I have my biological filtration. And this is what is going to harbor all of the bacteria and microorganisms and things that are going to help to filter out the nitrate and the nitrite and all that good stuff. You can look all that information up if you look up cycling. So this actually makes this filter a lot better and a lot more beneficial to my tank this way. So currently I'm just going to leave it like this. What I have up here is I do have some ceramic ring pouches, and I just got this little bag. It was only $1.47, and the pouch comes already inside a little netting, and it's perfect amount for this. And I can go ahead and put the back right back on. Now the back is loose, so what I like to do is just get a little rubber band, like one of the little ones for a little girl's hair or whatever, and put it right around here, and it holds the back together. So that way it's a solid piece. And I no longer have to buy these new cartridges every 2 to 4 weeks. Plus, I also have the cycling material in here and the filtering material that I want. So I can pick and choose. And I'm just going to slap it right into the case here. And there I go. So now I have the filter ready to go with the media of my choice and the type of filtration that I want for my tank. And that's how I do it for my little tanks. So there's the filter all set up in the quarantine tank right there. I did set it a little higher to the water surface because Finn's just a little fish, and I didn't want to create any extra stress or disturbance for him while he's in this temporary enclosure. He's currently hiding inside this little building here. And it'll do the job. It'll be great for the quarantine tank when it's in here, and for right now it's a very low stress, low flow filter that I recommend for Betta, and for any tank that's under 3 gallons. Does a pretty good job, especially if you can modify it to be able to put in your own media. And I do want to mention, here's the little pump that I'm using for that. Just some cheap little pump I got off eBay. It's not very quiet, but it does serve the purpose. The quarantine tanks aren't up all the time. But as a safety feature, when you're using an air pump, you always want to make sure you're using a check valve. And what a check valve does is it keeps any possible water that may come up through the line from going all the way back down into the pump and creating problems for the pump, and possibly more problems than just that. So it's always a good idea to go ahead and do that. And Finn is finally going up here and checking everything out, sitting on top of the filter, which is nice because it means that it's not disturbing him too much if he can get up there. So, hope the review helped you out, and the little tidbit there of information on how to change the media gives you some ideas so that you can use this filter better for yourself.